Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is Steven Padernacht with the Padernacht Real Estate Team, and welcome back to another episode of Inspection Matters. Our co-host Joshua Stone from the Stone Home Inspection Team will be joining us in just a moment, but in today's discussion, we're going to discuss the importance of the inspection report, examining whether or not inspectors are friends or foes to the deal, and unraveling how the new property condition disclosure form is going to affect your inspection report and your sale in general. So without further ado, I am going to get our co-host on here. And there he is. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Steven. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, my pleasure, my friend. So did you hear the tagline, inspector, friend or foe?
Yeah, I want to hear your answer.
So I just want to start off with a little story, right? So I had a deal going on recently, and they got back the inspection report. And in this market, the way we structured the deal was that the inspection was for informational purposes only. They got back the inspection report, and they saw so many items on there that were questionable that they decided to pull out of the deal. Now, your average agent, Josh, I'll tell you, will say, "Oh, darn that inspector! Like, why did he point all these things out? And I just lost out on a commission." Me personally, I told this to the buyers, and I said, "Listen, you have to understand that." And they were kind of like sorry to me. They were like, "Steven, I'm so sorry. You know, you put so much work into getting us an accepted offer, but it was just too much for us to overcome." And I said, "Listen, guys, for me, the most important thing is making sure you guys don't have what's called buyer's remorse. I don't want you to spend upwards of almost $1 million on a transaction and then have all these issues that come up later on, whether it's in 6 months or a year and a half, that you're pouring in, 10, 20, 30, upward. Who knows what, there's no cap to it. Like once you kind of go into the home, you just, so I told them, I said, "Listen, guys, for me, it's the most important that you're happy. If the inspection report showed these things, they're not there to scare you. They're just there to educate you." So me personally, my opinion, inspectors are friends, not foes. And you guys are not deal killers. You guys are actually giving the buyers a sense of relief and security, knowing what they're getting into. So they don't have these situations where they're like, "Oh, I didn't know anything about the roof." Well, no, you were told about the roof. And so that's my opinion on it.
Gotcha. So yeah, quick story on my backstory, and why I kind of got into this business was I had a bad inspector. I won't mention any names, but I had I bought a house in Yorktown, and the roof was definitely accessible where you could walk on the roof, and so you'd be able to see any major defects. They didn't get on my roof, and turns out I had a hole in the roof. I had to get on it after I closed on the house. They did tell me that the roof was older and I'm going to have to budget for it, of course, but they didn't tell me I had an active hole in the roof. So when I went up to clear the gutters after I bought the house, sure enough, I found the hole. And at that point, I was pretty angry that they didn't find that, didn't alert me to that. And I did spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house, and now I have to put a new roof on immediately versus, waiting the 5 years or so that I thought I had. So in that case, like, I feel like we go above and beyond. And I would also say that not every inspector is cut the same, right? So we all do things differently. We all, inspect houses differently, and we're all trained differently. We have different ethics. And our company, I mean, we're the highest rated company in New York. We have almost 900 5-star reviews. And that to me just kind of says, the job we do. People really appreciate what we do. And, are we a friend to the realtors? A lot of you are friends of ours personally, but so that kind of on that end, and some people might find conflict with that, right? So sometimes people are like, "Well, I don't want to hire who my realtor referred me to because I feel like there's a conflict there," right? Well, wrong. I think you're wrong, because you should trust who your realtor says you should trust the process of what your realtor says. They're guiding you along. So in my opinion, we're a reflection. Who you refer is a reflection of you. All right. Because they're not going to just call me and complain. They're going to call you and complain. Say, hey, your inspector missed this, this, and this. And now I have to spend $100,000 on this repair. So, I feel that you didn't do right by me. And so if you feel that that's okay and you're going to get a call like that, or then you're going to, in the future say, you know what, I'm not going to use Stone, or I'm not going to use whatever inspection company there is, that's kind of on you. So I tell all realtors, I'm like, listen, if you're price shopping, I tell all clients and realtors, potential clients, I say, if you're price shopping me, just do yourself a favor, go on Google, do a quick search. Let me know who you want to hire after that. 90% of the time they call us back because of our rating. And I hate to be a buzzkill. Like sometimes, people will go through a house. Like I had a situation the other day where, we go through the house. It's an older home. Again, probably about the $1 million mark, needs updating, needs a lot of little things. At the end, I said, you know what? Your sewer line is looking a little bit rusted. I said, you know what? If you want to go one step further, I would consider having the scope put down the line so we can check it out, make sure that that is okay.
Yep. That's the camera, right? That you put down the drain.
Correct. And not every inspector carries that, right? I feel like we're one of the first companies in the area that even started doing that. So I actually started doing that because I had a tremendous problem at that same house in Yorktown. So if an inspector would have said to me at the time when I was buying it, hey, I could put my camera down the line and tell you if there's any problems, I would have definitely done it. But going back to this house I just recently inspected, I put my camera down the line. There were tremendous blockages. Like it was literally one of the worst pipes I've ever seen. So if they skipped on that part, by the time they're ordering their furniture, getting the house settled, they start using the fixtures. They have sewer backups. Now you're out $10,000, $15,000. Friend or foe, you let me know, right?
Did you so the camera scope aspect, so basically you put it in the main sewer, right? And you go out to and you find where the connection is with the sewer line with the town or the or the municipal, right?
Correct. So
and you're able to see if there's any possible blockages or if there's a cracked pipe maybe, right?
Correct. So we could see a lot. Like you could see shifted pipes. So if a pipe is basically, if it shifts, if it cracks and shifts a little bit, then you have a little lip. Like that lip will accumulate solids, eventually lead to a backup. The other day I had one, it's on my Instagram right now, actually, you can see it. The pipe was so compromised that the stones from under the pipe started coming up and a pebble, actually a really big pebble came up and actually obstructed the pipe completely. So they have to get a plumber in there immediately because it's fully blocked right now,
And so this is a home that somebody was looking to buy.
Yes. So imagine buying that house. You have 2 young kids and you start using the fixtures immediately. You have a sewer backup.
Yeah. I as a landlord, I can tell you that sewer backups are no fun at all. I just had a situation, and this is brand new construction. Right? Brand new construction. The first floor kept getting backup. So you assume that it's probably just a local sort of stoppage. Maybe somebody was putting extra paper towels. Maybe somebody put something down the toilet, whatever it may be. Lo and behold, and I think you and I spoke about this. You had advised me on how to, because it was in New Jersey and it was all the way out there. You advised me on how to kind of handle it. We found when we put a camera down there that the pipe itself had created a lip. And there was like literally like this belly, excuse me, not a lip, a belly in the pipe. And that's what was causing all these stoppages. So it cost us, upwards of whatever, 10, 15 grand. And we're still working on that job, by the way. You and I spoke about this, a month ago? We're still working on the job because once it's underground like that, we had to literally dig up the entire floor in somebody's apartments. Like we had to relocate them to another apartment. We had to dig up the entire floor, all because this new construction that we assumed was no issues. It's brand new. What kind of problems can there be? Right. If we would have done an inspection and we would have figured this out beforehand, we would have known. It would have saved us a lot of trouble because it's not only the cost of the renovations, right? It's also relocating somebody to another unit. So now you're taking up 2 units, right? Because they're not paying rent in the unit that you're fixing. and you're not collecting any rent in the unit that they're occupying. So it just, the importance of this information, I think, is so vital for people. And they look at it, and agents specifically are like, oh, that inspection came back, and they get mad at you guys, but they just don't understand that, like, you got to be in this for the long run. Like,
Yeah.
I want these clients to refer me to other people. So as you said before, to your point, you're a reflection of me, right? So if I refer you and you don't tell them about some of these issues, they're not going to refer me any other clients. It's going to hurt me in the long run, and you're hurting the buyers.
Yes.
So I completely think friend, not foe. That's my opinion.
I agree. But going back to the fact that we're not all cut the same way, and we all have different ethics. I have heard of inspectors out there that literally will try and kill a deal because they want to get the next inspection from somebody. So
that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I've heard this, that, there are some people that will find things or kind of scare people to the fact that, they find defects and like, hey, this is kind of a big problem. And, and then they feel like, okay, you're my friend, you found a big problem, versus maybe it's a problem that could be easily solved, but yet they walk away because it's too big for them. And the way he presented it presents in a way that it can't be fixed, and or it's very expensive to fix. And then they get the next job. Right. So, that's not how we do business. Like, we do business, I want to do right by my clients. I pray, when I go to an inspection and I find something bad, I look at the realtors, I'm like, oh man, I know you went to war on this one, but I'm sorry, I have to tell them about this. And every realtor I've ever talked to, really, they're all like, listen, you got to do what you have to do. And that's the right way to do business. And yes, we will get a call back generally, and we will get referred even years down the line. We get referrals from previous clients. But yeah, we're definitely not all cut the same way. Some of them, I feel like it's like that Bird Box movie. They have the blinders on.
Yeah.
So some of them are like that, and their reviews reflect it. We've been in business for almost 9 years now, and so far no lawsuits, so we're good.
Well, let me ask you a question. So I always wondered this. So we as realtors are bound by, we have an ethical sort of, it's called a fiduciary responsibility to the clients. Do inspectors have, what kind of liabilities do you guys face? Or do you guys have any sort of like ethical sort of responsibilities or agencies agreements like with the state when you get a license?
There's definitely ethics involved. So, there are things that we're not allowed to do, such as like doing work on someone's house after we inspect it. So we can't work on somebody's house for 12 months. We're not allowed to take any kickbacks from other vendors that we refer, things like that. But personally, I feel that I have a duty to my clients. They're the ones paying me. So, when a client says to me, hey, can I follow you around? I always tell them, listen, this is your inspection. You treat it how you want it to be treated, but I will lay out my ground rules. My ground rules are, let me do my job. If you ask me questions along the way, every 10 feet, it's going to throw my flow off and I might miss something. So let me do my sweep, and then we'll go over my findings, and then you'll tell me what your questions are. So that's how I handle it. But yeah, our duty is to our clients.
I bet that you have certain personality types that follow you around. I've seen it. And they're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then you got to explain, which is cool, right? Like, it's your inspection, but at the same time, like, you're going to get a report. And I guess it's personality types. Me, I like to let you in. I let you do your thing, and you see how I do it, right? Like, I give you some space. I do my calls, blah, blah, blah. And then I come check on you every couple minutes, see what's going on. I don't know. It's just kind of my style. But I guess when you have a certain personality type where they just have to be in control and they have to know, then you just got to deal with it. That's tough.
I think it's it really comes down to whether it's mom, dad, or Uncle Bob. They show up to the inspection with a ton of knowledge.
God.
And then, I had one the other day, and it was like, this client's mom came to the inspection and everything we found was wrong. I said, oh, you have a cast iron waste pipe. Oh my God, it's cast iron. That's it. I said, well, it's easily accessible in the crawl space. Oh, but it's cast iron. It's going to have to be replaced. I'm like, I said to the realtor, I said, she's killing your deal here. I said, it's not
Uh,
me. So, I definitely would say, like, if you
I'm laughing because I've experienced this.
if you have Uncle Bob, like, please, like, let us do our job and bring them after for a quick sweep, or let them see our report. I do find that a lot of times, like, they kind of like, I've had this happen a couple times where Uncle Bob, is kind of like, oh, I don't know about this guy, and then they see us really diving in, and then they walk away, and I'm like, oh, I thought you were gonna shadow me, and they'll be like, no, I saw you know what you're doing, so I figured I'd give you your space. You know.
Can you just tell me a little bit about the implementation of the drone? Right, you're using drones, am I correct? For the roof sometimes?
So you need a FAA license to fly a drone if you're going to use it for commercial purposes. So we use different tactics and techniques. But the last time I saw you, I had my pole camera out.
Ah, that's what it was. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. All right.
yeah. So we use pole cameras. The best way to inspect the roof is to get on it. So when we can, we're always on the roof.
And from the inside of the roof, right? What are you looking for to like? What are you looking for to see if the roof, the condition of the roof, or if there's any wear and tear? Like, what are your telltale signs?
So I'm also a mold assessor. So I'm looking for, as soon as I get to a house, I evaluate the ventilation. And then when I go into the attic, if I see the ventilation is off, I kind of, I always assume that there's going to be a mold condition. Again, if the ventilation is off, so that's something that we're always looking for on the inside. We're looking for any signs of leaks. We're looking for mold. We're looking for insulation. We're looking for, wiring, things that could be safety hazards, possible asbestos insulation, things like that. So there's definitely a lot to see. We're looking for like cracked rafters, things like that. It's pretty involved. I mean, really, I've seen roofs, save a house. Like if there's been houses that have been foreclosed on, but they had a newer roof, I always say the roof literally saved the house. So that's how important it is. I believe the roof is probably that, and the foundation are the two most important items.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, definitely a
yeah.
lot.
Foundation is a whole other foundation. Foundation's a whole other animal, right? Like, figuring out, because when you get into a basement and you guys are doing, you're checking for moisture, right, in the basement.
Yes.
So how do you guys handle that conversation, sort of like with the buyer, when you find moisture in the basement, and what it could possibly mean?
So yeah, I mean that's something that we're always looking for. We find it a lot. We have tools to basically try and pinpoint leaks and things like that. Thermal cameras, moisture meters. So we always try and give as much information and document it with the tools we have, to show exactly what's happening. Sometimes, like the last one I saw you at, it was a pretty much finished space, so it's kind of difficult to pinpoint exactly what's happening. So when I do find moisture, especially if it's behind sheetrock, number one, I'm looking for mold. Wherever you have moisture, you're going to get mold. And I'm looking
Mhm.
for to see what the foundation's made of. So if it's like an older stone foundation, which a lot of houses down in Westchester, a lot of older homes are stone foundations, maybe even brick, you got to expect some moisture to come in. And there's ways to handle that. So there are companies that specifically do that. There's new techniques now where you could, if you have a little hole, little crack, it could be filled with an epoxy and it'll be
Mhm.
sealed up tight. So I try and, put them at ease that just because we found a little moisture doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal killer, but you do need to open up the walls and see exactly what's happening.
Yep. 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 All right. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. And you had alluded to this last time, and I've seen you do a couple of social media posts about it and trying to educate people. The property condition disclosure form. So this is like a huge, we had like almost a 45-minute conversation yesterday here with our team leader and our operating partner, just kind of giving us the nitty gritty on this property condition form. Can you just go into a little bit more detail and just kind of tell us exactly what it is and how it could help or hurt buyers and sellers?
Sure. So I think there's definitely still a bit of a gray area there. I think the legalities have to be worked out and understood. I don't completely understand it, but I do know that there is a big change, and the change with the property condition disclosure is happening this month. So it used to be that I believe when you bought a property, the seller can issue you a check for $500 and basically walk away from any liability. So now that $500 credit is going away, and there has to be a form that will basically alert the new buyers to any conditions that they know of, especially flooding. Flooding is huge, but I think that anything that they know of that should be reported on has to be disclosed. If it doesn't, there's going to be some liability issues that come up. I'm not sure exactly the extent of that. I guess they'll work that out, but that's a really big change, and I think that people don't really understand that. So in my opinion, the best way to mitigate any potential liability is to do what's called a pre-listing inspection. So we've been doing a lot more of them this year because of this situation. So with this situation, we can go through the house and basically evaluate it as if someone's buying the house, right? And we're going to tell the seller, hey, we found mold in your attic. We found mold in the basement. This is something that has to be remediated. Get it done by a licensed professional. We'll put you in contact with who you need to know. Get it done. Then you can disclose it and say, hey, we had an issue. We mitigated it. Here's the receipts. Okay.
That's a great idea. One of my questions I was going to ask you before is how many of those listing inspections are you doing? And now this right here, you just kind of opened my eyes to a big aha. Like, that's a great idea. That was a great idea. Wow.
But wait, there's more. So I came up with some more ideas with this, and it's really a no-brainer. So if you have a listing, or anybody watching this has a listing coming on, it's a great idea to get us in there. What we do with the pre-listing inspections is we will give the seller, obviously, the report. They could print the report, or they can we have a flyer that you can leave next to your listing sheet, and it says this home has been inspected by Stone Home Inspections. If you would like a copy of this report, reach out to us. All right. So essentially, what we're doing is we're selling the report to prospective buyers, right? So let's say you have 10 people bidding on the house. They don't have to have a full inspection. All right. They can get our report, and then our report's going to have the defects that we found, and along with the receipts of repairs that have been made. Okay. So for a discounted fee, these people can buy the report from us. We give a portion of that money back to the seller, so they get some of their pre-listing money back. Okay, and not only that, they can hire us. The prospective buyer can hire us. Again, we are the highest rated company in New York, so they're not hiring, a bad company, in my opinion. They hire us to do a walkthrough inspection. At that time, we update the report with any changes. We could also do environmental testing if they want, like mold testing, radon testing. And in addition to that, the best kicker for the seller is when they hire us to do the pre-listing inspection, we're getting them free moving supplies. So between selling the report and getting free moving supplies, it almost cost them nothing.
Did we just roll out a marketing plan for you?
Yes.
I want to just say, Josh, like, that is the epitome of thinking outside the box, right? Because for me, right, I tell sellers when I'm going to list, I say, okay, we have this. So it was announced to us about a month and a half ago in the office here. So every listing that I've taken in the past, 30, 45 days, I send them the form, and we're not even allowed. I'm not sure if you know this, but we're not even allowed to help the seller with the report. Like, I don't know if it's an office thing that our operating broker doesn't want us to do, but they advised us to just send it and then tell the seller, like, hey, my advice would be to speak to your attorney after you fill this out, because the liability that now comes back to you is if you don't disclose something, if you had a leak in your basement, if you had an electrical issue, if you had somebody come into your house and do some work here that you need to disclose, and you don't, and then something happens later on. Here, listen to this, Josh. They told me that it can even undo the sale of your home, and you could be held liable as the seller by not disclosing this information.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I've gotten some pushback, especially in Connecticut, because Connecticut, I believe, had this law in effect. So when I did mention what I'm talking about to some realtors, they said, well, I don't, as a realtor, they're like, I don't want to know what's going on with the house, because then,
oh my
like,
goodness gracious.
So, yeah, they don't want to know. Like, they don't want my report. And I said, that's okay. I said, have your seller hire me. Then they go and get the repairs done. Then you have no worries. But the bottom line is, like, if you have a listing agent on the last inspection we just did, like, don't you think it would have been a lot smoother of a transaction if they would have just mitigated all the issues I found?
Or just disclose them.
Or just disclose it.
Now I get it, right? Like, ideally, you're like, okay, I'm listing at 7. If I tell them all these issues, they're going to try to lowball me 650, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, this stuff is what is the expression? What you do in the dark will come to light. Like, it's gonna. And now the state is holding us here in New York City, because you are right. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, but all of New York State except New York City has been operating under this mandatory property disclosure form. And now, and of course, New York City is always like, like, no, we don't need that. We're not doing this. We're New York City. But the state wants us to now take a responsibility for taking these listings, because, like, it blows my mind that a realtor would tell you that. I don't even want to know what's going on. Like, who are you really serving? Like,
Right. It's again, it's kind of a gray area, and that might be the training they're getting in Connecticut. I don't know, but when I did mention this to some people, they were not on board until I told them, hey, listen, you don't have to be involved, but I'm telling you right now, if you want to smooth the transaction, have an inspector, whether it's me or somebody else, have us go through the house, find the problems, mitigate the problems that might stall or halt the deal. All right, because there are things that can listen. If you're dragging the deal out another month or two, like, that's huge. People have to move. Your rate could expire. Like, there's all these different things that go into a deal that could just be so smooth. Close in 2 weeks, close in a month. And that could all be done if you just do it the right way. It should be required. There are some states where it's required.
It's all about the training, right? It's all about the training. Yeah. It's all about the office, the culture, and the people. So, like, you could be trained one way, but in your heart of hearts, like, wait a second, I can't be doing this. And I think that's a difference. And you and I are very similar, right? Like, and that's why we get along and we have such a great working relationship and we're friends. And it's like, we hold ourselves and our business to a different standard. And I think for anybody who's watching this, please just understand that not all of us are built the same and we don't all operate the same. So just do your due diligence. I mean, Josh, listen, 900 reviews, that is, I'm over here with my 60 or 70, John.
It's just a testament to what we do and the team. It's not all me. It's teamwork makes the dream work. It's not all me. Yeah. We get reviews from all my other inspectors. We get calls from people like, oh, I only want Josh. I can't be everywhere. But believe me, you're going to get the same service.
Guilty.
Yeah. Guilty. I try and be everywhere, but I can't be everywhere. So.
No, but you guys are good, though. Honestly, like, I have not had a negative situation with any of your inspectors. I mean, sometimes the speed isn't always there, but what are you going to do?
I hear you. Yeah. But as long as they're thorough, I can't fault them. And they're really, like, at the drop of a hat. I mean, I can, someone called yesterday at 1:00. Oh, we need an inspection today. My guy was there at 3:30. Like, that's
so that actually happened with me. I don't know if it was who I was texting with, but I had a buyer for one of my listings. And here's how confident I am in your ability is that I said, hey, listen, I'll give you my inspector for one of my listings. Usually it's like, all right, cool. The buyer's agent gets the inspector or recommends an inspector. Right. Yes. But I was like, listen, just call Josh, call them. And you guys were ready to go. I mean, they ended up finding somebody at the last minute, but you guys were ready to go that day. I was like, hey, I need somebody for 4:30. And you were like, whoever, whether it was you or Lisa or whoever, was like, all right, give me a couple minutes. And you guys were able to.
Spanish speaking too. I know that was something they were like, oh, that would help. It was Spanish speaking inspector. So
yes, extremely important.
Yeah, it's the biggest dynamic. I mean, a lot of our clients are Hispanic. It's just a huge dynamic.
And that's extremely important because people want to understand. Like I speak Spanish, right? But I'm not able to explain when a rafter is moved or a ventilation system is moved. So having somebody to speak their native tongue just really sets the bar at a different level. And I know the clients truly appreciate it. Also the markets you're working in, right?
Correct.
Like if you were working out, in a different area where there wasn't such a large Hispanic speaking population, you wouldn't have to worry about it, but you're just adapting, and it's just a testament to your business model, right?
Correct. Yeah, no, it's definitely the biggest, I'd say, pool of clients that we have are Hispanic. And I love to see it. I grew up with Hispanic people, from El Salvador, and I saw them, fulfill the American dream. I pushed them to do that at a young age. I actually did their mortgage at the time, and and I saw them grow their wealth from that. So I love to see it. It's the American dream.
God bless.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, I'm gonna. I think maybe we'll just call it a wrap for today. I truly, truly, truly appreciate your time. And is there any final thoughts before we wrap up here today?
No, it was a great chat. I feel like we took a little bit of a diversion here or there, but it was great. Good to dive in. And just remember, for your protection, get a stone home inspection.
Absolutely. Josh, take care. And everybody, thank you very much for watching another episode of Inspection Matters, and look out for us for episode 3 next month. Take care, everybody.
See you next time.